Hi and welcome to everybody to InventoryBase Academy. My name is Sian Hemi Metcalf. I'm the Head of Training for InventoryBase Academy, and today's webinar is going to be about enhancing your business using social media. I'm lucky enough to be co-hosting with Laura West from New Day Marketing.
Hello everybody.
Laura has joined us because she is a whiz on social media and marketing, and so we'll be able to take you through the webinar and explain all the different areas and contents that you're going to need to know about how to manage your social media presence as an inventory clerk. A bit of housekeeping initially. Expect the webinar to be around about the 45 to 50 minutes. We do have a lot of content to get through, so please do ask your questions, but if we can't get to them, please don't worry. Make sure you put them in the chat box, because we'll gather them and then we'll answer them after the webinar and send them out with the recording. So hopefully that's all very clear. So with that in mind, let's get started. Laura, over to you.
Hi there everyone. As Sian's kindly introduced me, my name's Laura. I'm from New Day Marketing, and I'll be talking with you today about social media marketing and how you can use it to benefit your business. So today we'll cover why use social media. We'll look at the do's and don'ts of using each platform. We'll look at setting the standard, including some detail on strategy and tone of voice. And we'll also look at what tools you will need in order to get started.
Great, let's get started then.
So first and foremost, why use social media? If you've never used social media to showcase your business before, now is the time to start. Although other more traditional methods may work for you, such as building relationships in person or using the telephone to get in touch with people and build relationships that way, there will be competitors around you that are already utilising social media.
I mean, that's certainly from my point of view, I'm using it all the time, but I must admit when I first started out, I really didn't understand it. So this is going to be really helpful, and I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot from this myself.
Brilliant. So as we've said, social media is a great way to showcase your business and your brand, and to give new customers a way to gain instant confidence in your products and services that you offer.
Okay, yeah.
So when making a purchasing decision, many customers will look online at reviews, and they'll look at past customer engagement to obtain a good idea of what they're looking at and what they're going to be buying into before committing.
Okay.
Actually, over half the world's population are now subscribed to at least one social media platform. So even if you're not planning on taking over the world just yet, it might not be a bad place to start.
I was hoping.
So why should you use social media? The first point that I'd like to make is to get recognised. So brand awareness. By using social media, you enable your customers to connect with you and interact with your business on a more personal level. So it's not always formal, it's not necessarily just by email or by a telephone call. They can hit your page or see your posts on their feed, and it becomes more personal because it's on their feed.
Do you find that, doing your business, that you get a lot of clients who are a bit uncomfortable with social media, etc., or is it everybody's now on social media? Is it just what everyone does?
I think I was quite surprised, to be honest, how many people aren't comfortable at using it. I think because I've sort of grown up with it, being around, that I've always just had it there. But I think there's a lot of people, certainly, and even people that are perhaps younger, that aren't as comfortable as I first initially thought everybody would be. So yeah, I think that it's quite surprising.
Oh, interesting.
So anyway, back to brand awareness. So if you already do have an established brand, social media could still be beneficial to you. There might be opportunity for you to further develop your brand and to give your business further voice. But again, if you are a new inventory clerk looking to get known and get recognised across socials, then this is what you need to be doing, because otherwise, how are people know who you are?
Exactly. And I must admit, certainly from my point of view, when I first started out, there was so much stuff to be aware of, trying to do even just the general work side of things, then having to think about, well, how am I going to contact people, how am I going to contact, what am I going to say, and it's quite a daunting process. So it'd be interesting to see how we can help clerks get notice and for hopefully landlords and agents and even tenants get to know who we are for the right reasons.
So off the back of brand awareness, obviously you're putting yourself into the marketplace, you want to be noticed, but you do want to attract customers. That's the aim of the game.
Yeah.
So social media is a great way to attract new customers. And when you're considering campaigns, you should always try and attract people in the best possible way. So think about what you're posting, you know, the messaging behind it. If you're looking to gain and build your audience, you can look at informative content across your social media channels, or some people use promotions or giveaways or special offers on their products. There's
like discounted reports or first report free. I've seen for some people they're doing that.
And that will then encourage people to obviously look at the offer and then perhaps look a little bit further about what you offer. And you may well offer a service that the person that they're currently using doesn't, or you may offer more for the same price, or as you say, if you can give a discount, then that definitely gets people interested.
But I suppose also you want to showcase your quality of your report as well. You know, it's not just about how much a discount you can give, it's also saying, you know, I'm good at what I do, I can provide you a really valued product. You know, but it's like I said, it's getting someone to kind of look at you. And I think certainly in our world, it's a quite saturated market. It's difficult to get heard, difficult to get seen.
That's where reviews also come into play, but we'll talk about those a bit later. But definitely, it's people buying into something that's real and that they can see that other people have recommended. So a next point to make on why using social media is beneficial for your business is to increase revenue. Obviously, we've said we want to attract customers, but we also want to increase revenue and make money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't we all? So this can be done through building a community or advertising your products and services using social media platforms. If you choose to advertise using social media, you can create adverts, you can, as I've just mentioned, create informative content, and that will drive people through, hopefully, to your website. And then the inquiries should then
start
with a bit
coming
of
in,
nurturing, turn into sales or bookings.
Cool.
You can also add inquiry facilities on your social media pages, like message buttons, etc. And then you don't have to fully rely on the customer clicking all the way through to your website. If they want to send you a Facebook Messenger message, for example, if you're managing that platform, then it's quicker for them to contact you rather than them going via the Facebook page to the website, and it just gives people another option.
And do you find people actually prefer that? Because I suppose in a way, as long as you're available, it's an immediate response.
And Facebook will tell you the average response time. So if a customer went onto your Facebook page and sent you a message, it will say on there typically replies within. So it gives the customer an automatic sort of, you know, time of how long it's going to take for them to get a response on average.
Okay, that's useful to know.
With this, just a point to make is that from a marketing perspective, you would always try and drive the traffic somewhere. So you're usually, your Facebook page or your LinkedIn or your Twitter page is usually a sort of signposting position to direct traffic through, whether that be to a landing page on a website, an inquiry form on a website, but usually it's a steering position.
You want them to go somewhere pertinent, so you want them to either see or do something.
I mean, it's important to remember that there is features that you can use on Facebook, for example, with the messaging, but however, the overall game should be to direct them through to the website.
Okay.
So, on to the next point, getting ahead of the game. If you're still dubious and think that social media isn't suited to your business or that you don't have time, simply logging on to see what your competitors are doing in this space and finding out what your customers are saying about them is a really good idea.
Yeah, I mean, I must say, it's something I do literally every single day. I'm always on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, and see what people are saying, the kind of information, any changes, any news, anything that's going on. So I'm totally up to date of everything that's going on, you know, certainly within my, you know, client base and my sphere of you know, connections, etc.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well. You can miss so much by not being aware and by not looking. And obviously, if you are trying to build your business out and be the best at what you do, then yeah, you're certainly onto a winner there.
Cool, good, that's nice to know. Bit of validation for me.
So networking, this is a great point to make, and Sian, I know that you do a lot of networking yourself on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn I do. Not so, I don't have so much time to actually get out there networking. It's really difficult because, as I'm sure everybody is aware, especially this time of year, we're really busy, and it's not unusual to be up and out 6-7 o'clock in the morning and still working 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, that's a norm for us, certainly during the summer period.
So this obviously enables you to do what you can't do by being able to pick it up and do it when you choose.
Yeah.
And obviously that's the beauty of it. You can jump onto LinkedIn whenever you like, and it can be really valuable to your business to be making connections on LinkedIn with whether that's ex-colleagues, people that work in a similar field, people that you want to speak to, and you know, it's self-serve. So like you say, you don't have to be worrying if it's when you've got into bed at 11:30 on a busy night.
Yeah, they're still going to be there, definitely.
Yeah.
And what I've certainly found from a personal experience, I've literally started from zero. I never had any social media accounts or anything like that because of my previous job, and I literally had to start from a standing point and just get straight into it. And I've now got about a network of over 900 contacts on LinkedIn, but I'm very careful about who I talk to. I want to make sure that I add value and I can get value from them. So it's not a race to how many you can get, it's the quality of them, certainly from my point of view. Is that something you would advocate?
Definitely. And I think going off the back of that, for obviously people that are just becoming inventory clerks, that's good for them to hear, because, you know, obviously, like you say, you didn't have any connections because you worked in a totally different sector.
Yeah, exactly. No connections, no clue.
No. But yeah, definitely networking is a key thing if you're looking to build your business and move forward.
Good.
Another thing to mention is recruitment. If you are looking to grow your business, then a lot of people use Facebook and LinkedIn especially to post job vacancies and to look for new staff members. So there's a few different ways that you can do it. You can pay to advertise on LinkedIn and post jobs, but what most people tend to do is do a nice image and perhaps a link to the actual job advert on the website.
Okay.
And do it that way.
I use Indeed quite a lot, and I've noticed a lot of other inventory companies use Indeed because it's a proper platform for that. But equally, I use local job groups on Facebook, which are quite useful because it gets you right into the community.
Cool. And the last point to make in this section is about search engine discoverability. So we won't go into SEO today, but search engine discoverability is really important, because if you are looking to be found in your area, then your website needs to be up to scratch, but also what you're putting out across socials can contribute. So it's important that you are including the main keywords within your posts, because they can be picked up by.
Is that something that maybe we can cover either on the Academy website or at a later stage?
Certainly.
Great.
Another thing to mention, which again I won't go into, but if anyone does want any advice after the webinar, then please do get in touch, is registering your business on Google My Business. If you do have a fixed address that you're happy to share, then by putting yourself on there as an inventory clerk, inventory provider, then when people are searching for you on Google as a verified business, you'll be found much, much easier.
Ooh. I've not heard of that one before. I'll have to have a look at that.
I'll get you signed up.
Oh, good. Yeah, lovely.
So what we'll do now is move on to the platform, so the do's and don'ts for each network. Some points may be the same throughout each network that we go through, but every network is different, so it has to be managed on an individual basis. There is different ways to handle content on different platforms, and there is different ways that you should do things. So we'll go through the four main platforms one by one: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter and Instagram.
Great.
So Facebook, first of all. So the do's of Facebook marketing. So number one, and this is applicable throughout all the networks, is that your branding must be professional. I personally see a lot of homemade Facebook pages with weird photos as profile images, and everything's sized incorrectly, and you're just incomplete fields, and it just looks, from an outside perspective, awful. You know, it's not that difficult, and it doesn't take that much time to actually just spend the time and make it complete, and it will make all the difference, because when somebody first lands on that page, that's the first thing that they're going to see. So it needs to look good. Use a logo as your profile picture, and then have a cover image that matches, whether that's the same branding, whether it's a you know, sometimes people upload videos now onto their cover photo, so if you've got an explainer video or something like that, then you can put that on there, but please make sure that your branding is on form. On from that image sizing, as I've already said, the profile images and the cover photos need to be the correct size, but also the posts as well, because if you don't size the post images correctly, then it can chop bits off and miss things and just look totally way out. And that's not what you want.
And again, as I said, it's all about that visual, about that looking, you've paid attention to it. So if you pay attention to that, then you're likely to be paying attention to the service that you're going to provide.
Exactly. And that's it. People will judge from what they're seeing on there.
Yes, they will. Yes.
And albeit that you may not be a graphic designer or a, top marketeer, it's quite simple stuff that's not that difficult to just make sure that you pay attention to detail on, and it will make all the difference.
No, it makes good sense.
So be campaign wise. If you are running a specific campaign, so if you're looking for sign-ups or special offers and promotions, then you can coordinate the cover photo, also the pinned post function as well on Facebook to make sure that that post appears at the top of the page, and the call to action on the actual page itself, so the button.
So basically what you want someone to do once they've read that post, where you want them to go or what you want them to either talk or to discuss or link to or click to.
So you want to just try and match the copy, the creative and the call to actions towards that campaign if you are running one at that point. So tailoring your posts. So targeting on Facebook isn't just for paid content. You can feature this for organic posts as well. So instead of just blasting out posts to everybody, think about ways that you can use targeting tools to segment your posts by age or gender and be more specific with your targeting.
So effectively we could target letting agents or landlords, be very specific with content to them because they're the ones who we want to get the jobs from.
Exactly, and it's not being wasted then on people that don't need to see it or aren't
because I suppose you could end up just posting, but not really getting anything back, which is really a waste of your time.
And also, when you're tailoring your posts, think about how it's going to be read from the other side. So if it makes sense to you, then that's fine, but it might not make sense to the person reading it on the other end. So really tailor your posts to the audience that you're looking to engage with. If you have the availability and the budget for paid adverts, then do use them. They are good, and obviously, if you do or do not know, paid ads have become a huge part of social media marketing compared to what they used to be. You can amplify successful organic posts. That's a good way just to get started. So by reviewing the best posts that have performed well, then use those and add then what they call a boost, or you can run separate ads.
I see that come up on my Facebook page ever so often. It says, do you want to boost this particular comment or boost this particular advert, etc. So that's what it means, so that you get a bigger reach.
So on a post, on an organic post, you can hit boost, but then you need to check your audience. That's a key thing just to point out here if anyone wants to go and do ads. Just be really careful that your audience is defined. Because if you just hit boost and stick a tenner on it, then they'll just take it off you.
Okay, so it'll just go everywhere.
It'll just go everywhere. So just before you do it, either read up on it or get in touch for some advice, because it's not specific to your audience without you telling it to be.
Right, I get you.
As we mentioned briefly earlier, encouraging reviews. These are great for small businesses, so don't be afraid to ask your customers to leave you a review.
See, that's one I'm always a little bit concerned about, because obviously the type of work that we as professional inventory clerks do is that there will be a time, and more often than not, where someone won't like the content of your report, especially if it comes to checkout and maybe they disagree. Could it be a tenant? It might even be a landlord. So, there's a likelihood there that, you might not get a nice review. How do you manage that?
But that isn't a reflection on the service that you provided.
Is it? Sorry, say
it isn't a reflection. I wouldn't personally say so, because you've still gone and completed the report and you've still been impartial and you've still provided the evidence of what is in the property at that time. So that's not a reflection on the service that you've provided. If you've completed the report, it's all honest, it's all fair, and you've provided it in the time slot that you said you would, at the price that you said you would, then they're the things that they should be focusing their review around. If people do leave reviews, obviously you can contact them directly and manage them that way and say, look, let's talk about this.
So there's like a right reply. So is it always recommended that if you maybe get obviously if you get a good review, you'd always say thank you.
Yeah.
But equally, if you don't get a good review, is it better to try and deal with it off that site, or actually do it on that site so that you are, you know, trying to manage it?
Definitely, but it also depends on the customer, because they won't always want to reply you know, offline if it were, so you do really have to deal with it on an individual basis. But however, I think that if there is an issue and they have left that review, it's within your interest as a business owner to try and rectify that problem anyway. So most definitely don't just leave it, or don't send an angry reply.
So be considered, be professional at all times, as you would do normally.
And try not to take it personally. It's really hard because it's your business and it's your Facebook page, but
especially when you're new and you're starting out, and you know, you're relying on, you know, to get, you're trying to build a reputation. If there's anything said that might be potentially damaging, then clearly you don't want to put yourself out there to have that. But again, you need to put yourself out in order to get noticed. So it's, like you said, it's about managing that, isn't it, and being professional about it.
Happy medium.
So,
the final point to make on the do's of Facebook is to look at your results on a weekly, monthly basis. This can get quite addictive once you first start. So there's an insight section within the Facebook page, and that will tell you exactly how well your posts have performed, how many people they've reached, how many likes they've had, how many comments they've had. And it's a really good place to get a really good view of how everything's doing. So definitely do have a look in there. And when making a content plan to move forward, you really need to be reviewing these results to base what's working and what's not. Because there's no point in you just keep pushing content out that's not working. It's a waste of time. So there's the ability to do this across all the networks, but in Facebook it's the insight section. So do make sure that you get in there and have a good look around. So the don'ts of Facebook, don't miss out vital information on your page. So as, again, previously mentioned, the About section is one of the first places that people will look. So you want to literally put as much in there as you can. So phone number, email address, opening hours, you know, about the company, about the history, if it's new, when did it start, why did it start, what's the story behind it, and it's just there then for people to go in, have a nose around, and it again gives off that feel. So don't miss any vital information out. Don't use a fake account to try and manage a page. I know that this happens a lot. So people, for example, would set up a personal Facebook account like Sean Inventory, and then create a page off the back of that. These dummy accounts, they're totally against Facebook's terms and conditions.
Is it?
And if you do that, then you run the risk of them pulling your page down at any time. Or you not being able to access the fake profile, to access the management of that page. So do not do it. If you do want multiple people to manage your page on your behalf, you can go into the page users within the settings on a Facebook page and allocate roles. So
for argument's sake, if I asked you as part of New Day marketing to take over my Facebook page to manage it, I could give you that access, and then you could manage my posts and deal with that side of things.
And you can set me as, say, for an editor, for example, so I can only post and delete posts. I can't delete the page. I can't make changes to the About section.
So there's plenty of controls there.
Different limits, definitely. And I don't need access to your personal Facebook then either. You just literally add me in. Via email, so you don't even have to be friends with them. So the next point to make is about over posting. Some people think that it's good to just keep going. And although people don't necessarily see every post that you put out, it can be considered spammy. So I've done a bit of research, and according to a recent study, companies with less than 10,000 Facebook followers receive 60% fewer interactions when they post 60 plus times per month. So obviously that's only 2 posts a day. So, you know, any more than that would be considered on the spammy side. So don't do it.
So keep it considered, relevant, and don't go overboard.
Quality versus quantity. So one to 2 a day tops. General rule of thumb is 1 standard content post, and then another. It could be a sales post, it could be a feature and benefit post, it could be a blog director. So along those lines for sure. Really important one, don't be boring. Text and more text is seen on pages that perhaps don't have any direction from anybody else, and more than anything, it doesn't work anymore. A few years ago, it would be a standard thing to just put a text post out with a link and literally just send that out every day without an image, without a video. But it just, people want more now. People are used to more. People are used to everything being interactive. They're being content left, right and centre. So you cannot afford to be boring.
Right.
So don't, if you see something and you want to share it and it's relevant to the industry, then you can use that. So if it's even if it's not your news article, you can still use a news article if it's relevant. But don't be tempted to post anything that's not relevant to the business, and remember that it is a business page and not a personal page. On that note,
so
no lad Bible.
No, right, okay, no lad Bible.
No lad Bible.
Not even with the cute kitties.
No,
okay.
Definitely not. The dog posts, yes.
Oh, okay.
Don't be slow. So a recent online survey showed that 42% of consumers who complain on social media expect a 60-minute response time. So in an ideal world, we'd all like to respond within 60 minutes, and with you being inventory clerks and being out on site, it might not always be possible.
Definitely not, especially during busy periods. I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even get anywhere near anything social, or it's very early in the morning because that's the only time I get.
Yeah. I mean, you can set an auto reply on Facebook Messenger, for example, that acknowledges that the message has been received by the page, and you can edit that to give them an average response time. So you can say, thanks for your message. We are site-based, so we will aim to respond to you within 1 working day. And then obviously if you can get back to them sooner than that, then great, they'll
Brilliant.
be happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely just try not to be slow if you're responding. And final point is never make assumptions. So this goes for all channels, but just because something does work for someone else, it doesn't mean that it will work for you. The main aim in all of this is to just keep testing your social media, testing your content and reviewing the results to see what works. Mm-hmm. It's not instant, it does take time. So, don't presume that you're going to have 5,000 followers after a month's worth of posts, because unfortunately it doesn't work like that. But yeah, just don't assume anything. Do your research, test, and yeah, don't just take it for granted.
Yep.
So we'll now go on to talk about Twitter. Twitter is mainly used for B2B. So ideally,
B2B?
Business to business, sorry.
Lovely. No, that's fine, fine. I generally know what B2C, B2B is and so on and so forth, but I know maybe some of our listeners, attendees wouldn't necessarily know. So
B2C, great. Business to consumer, B2B, business to business.
Great, lovely, thank you.
So this should be a place where you do focus, because most letting agents that I know of, from obviously the work that I've been doing with InventoryBase, will be all over Twitter. So it's a great place for you to be. So the do's of Twitter, as with Facebook, branding your Twitter profile is really, really important. There's a few little extra bits that you can do on Twitter. If you know the hex code, which is the colour code for the colour of your brand, then
is that the kind of like hashtag code?
That's it.
Code, right? Yeah.
And
I know mine.
Tools online that you can upload images to that will tell you what the hex codes are. You can change your profile to match, obviously, so it's all in line with the brand. So the little bits, but it does make the difference when setting up a page.
I must admit, I often change my profile picture depending on what's happening in the world, i.e. Obviously Armistice Day, anything major that's happened, or if we're celebrating like gay pride and so on and so forth, we change it to reflect where we are at that time, to show our support,
But your Twitter is a personal Twitter, isn't it? It's not a business account.
No, it is actually a business. It's actually a business one.
Oh, I'm talking about your Shan one.
Oh, right, on the at the TVAA.
Yeah.
No, that is it is one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. But yeah, images, profile images. Again, as Shan said, you can change them to be in line with events that are going on. There's filters and stuff around that you can put over images to make them to make them pretty, but keep your profile and your cover photo branded wherever possible, as with Facebook. So the next point again is image sizing. The images are different sizes to Facebook, so they're different to all platforms. They're much wider and thinner than they are on Facebook. And if you Google social media post image sizes, then you'll be able to find out what they are for all networks. So regular posting on Twitter is different to Facebook. It doesn't necessarily hurt to overpost on Twitter because tweets don't last as long as Facebook posts do on news feeds. So don't be panicking thinking, oh, I've already put 2 out today, I better not put another one out. Just it's totally fine on Twitter. Feel free to retweet relevant content from other accounts, including news, fun content, again, if it's appropriate. And yeah, just don't worry about overposting.
One thing I am very careful on Twitter is I'm very careful to make sure I read the post I'm going to retweet, just to make sure, because there has been a couple of occasions I've retweeted and then when I reread it, I thought, oh, actually, no, that's actually either not appropriate or it's not relevant or that is not what I thought it was. And you have to be so careful because there's so much content there.
Or check the profile of where the tweets originated from, because you can get stuck there sometimes because they may not always post appropriate content. So just double check.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
So get creative. Again, visual content's really important on Twitter. Tweets with images get retweeted 150% more than those without. So make sure.
Is that like a picture or video? Does it make, as long as it's visual?
Visual content, visual content. So this is really important because obviously 150 times more is 150% more is obviously a lot. So,
but equally, you've still got to be careful on what you're actually tweeting. Funny enough, I've done a post about on a blog rather on our InventoryBase Academy about using social media to promote your work, etc. And I've noticed that a lot more people are using pictures of properties of where they've been and where they're working at. But my concern then is the fact that there's a likelihood that property might get noticed either by the landlord or the agent. They might not agree if you haven't had previous discussions about them with it. And also you're kind of like saying, actually, this property's empty, this property, is going to be let, but it's not let yet because you've only just done an inventory and you've just been telling everybody on social media. I'm a bit uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, you've got to be really careful. Obviously, it's not your house. For starters, so should you be taking pictures of it anyway without permission? Yeah,
outside of the report, of course.
The security risks that it poses by posting pictures of empty properties onto social media, especially obviously something so public like Twitter, you must be careful. So
and
take Sian's advice.
It's something I say to my clerks, anybody I work with, contractor wise, etc. If there's something, we have actually used a property in order to do a video for our training side of things. But what we did was we made sure we had express permission, we had express parameters that we couldn't move out of, including stating or showing where the property was, etc. Could be only internal, and it had to make sure that it didn't include anything to do with the letting agent or the builder or anything along those lines. So we were very, very careful with that, and got the permission. So what I would say to everybody, the attendees, etc., is make sure you get those permissions. Don't just feel that just because you're there and you're doing a report, you can just do it willy-nilly. Be aware.
Certainly haven't got the rights to.
No, because someone comes under GDPR as well. So you just want to put yourself in a position where someone could potentially complain. Don't give them the tools. There's ways you can take nice pictures of where you are, especially if you're like me, where I'm near the sea. So I'll take a picture of the sea. I don't need necessarily a picture of the property, but it gives you the understanding of where I am. But nothing more.
Cool. If you're not sure, don't post. That's probably the main bit of advice there. If you're not sure, if you've got a slight doubt in your mind, just don't do it. So we'll try and move swiftly on. So hashtags, I'm sure everybody will have seen hashtags and will know what they are. But if you don't, then you would use a hashtag for a keyword to tag that post. So if it was for about a letting agent, for example, you would write hashtag letting agent, and then people can use that that hashtag to search and find posts.
Right.
So if you're an inventory clerk, you would hashtag inventory clerk, and then if somebody's looking for, say for example, inventory clerk in Portsmouth, you would put hashtag inventory clerk, hashtag Portsmouth, and then if somebody does go on there and types in inventory clerk Portsmouth, you'll come through on that feed.
Right.
So it is really important to use them, especially if you're trying to grow your audience, because it does give you the opportunity to get in front of new eyes. You can use a couple of different platforms to do some hashtag research. There's one called Hashtagify and one called Hashatit. So just Google those and yeah, they'll be able to give you a bit more of an idea. It gives you suggested hashtags from ones that you search for.
Great, lovely. And what we can also do, if you haven't got a pen and paper or you haven't got that down, we can send that out with the recording and the feedback later, so that you've got those to link into and have a look at.
So the two final points, as with the pinned Facebook post, you can do a pinned tweet. So this will just remain at the top of your profile. So if you are running a specific campaign, it will sit at the top if it's a special offer, or if you've got an explainer video or something like that, you can pin that to the top of your profile. And also, again, monitor results. If you hit analytics.twitter.com, then that will take you to the analytics for the Twitter page that you're signed into. So that's really good. It gives you really a variation of snapshots in time periods that covers mentions, tweet impressions, profile visits and more. So it lets you know if your activity's up or down and can just give you a bit more information on what you're doing right and what you're not doing right.
Okay.
So the don'ts on Twitter is use auto commenters. You may see when you contact some companies on Twitter that they respond to your tweets immediately, and it's a robot essentially. It's all pre-programmed and it's obviously not personal whatsoever. People get really annoyed by these, so even if you think, oh, it might make my life easier, don't do it, because it just looks bad and they're not.
I suppose people switch off as well, because they'll just think, well, I'm not talking to anybody, so why should I bother?
Exactly. So don't tweet without research. Twitter is one of the main places that you can get beaten down if you put an unpopular opinion on there.
Yes, yeah.
So if you don't
Unless you're Trump, of course, because if you're Trump, then, yeah.
Let's not talk about him.
Apparently, kidneys are in the heart, from what I heard today, which is kind of like trending everywhere. It's a thing at the moment.
I have to have a look. But if you do post an opinion, be prepared for backlash. And obviously, it's not a wise idea to be posting anything of a personal opinion out across a business account anyway. So bear that in mind. But if you are tweeting on a business basis, then make sure you've researched what you're saying. So you don't look
back
silly.
It up and
and you're not incorrect and you're not giving out incorrect information.
Yep.
So don't expect overnight miracles. Growth takes time, and engagement while you're still on the lower end of the scale will take a while to get up and running. So you'll need at least a few hundred followers before you get sort of any real follower engagement. But then it is important to remember that this isn't everything, that you are still on there, which is obviously better than not being on there, and people are noticing you. So
yeah, absolutely. And one thing I also do as well, I follow a lot of other inventory clerks, other companies, etc., and I retweet them, they retweet me, we talk, we discuss, just because we're effectively in the same
space.
Same space actually work-wise and potentially competitors. But I think there's a lot to be said about supporting each other, and I think there's a lot to be had about knowledge sharing, etc. So don't be afraid to do that, because I actually find it quite useful, and I've got a lot of contacts, a lot of good content, a lot of help and support, and also giving a lot of help and support by doing that. So it's not a case of you just got to keep the whole sweetie jar to yourself. But
share the love.
Exactly, definitely, without a doubt, because you'll be surprised how often that will come back to be very helpful to you.
And by doing that, it makes it quicker, and it makes growth happen, within your space, as we've just said, quicker. Although it won't happen overnight, it may help hurry things along a little bit. Last point to make is don't overwrite. So tweets with 100 characters or less do tend to have a higher level of engagement. If you're like me, then you've always probably got too much to say. Not me, never. But just bear in mind that you do get 280 characters, but short and sweet sometimes can be better. Okay, so we'll move on to LinkedIn.
My favourite platform.
So with LinkedIn, there's a lot to be gained from a personal profile, sometimes over and above a company page. So it's important that you do consider both. From a personal perspective, this is where you'll network, where you'll build connections, where you'll speak to people, where you can share articles and that kind of thing. But obviously with the company page, that's where you're going to be posting your standard company content, which you can then share through your personal profile on LinkedIn. So bear in mind that this is a combination of both.
Okay, but I suppose especially if you're a startup, you're a new clerk, etc., you'll probably be posting as you.
You want to be posting as the company, but sharing that via your personal page.
Right, I get you.
And then building your connections from your personal page, who will then get the exposure to the company page via your personal profile, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so we've obviously covered some of these, so I'll just whip through them quickly. Branding, as we've spoke about, ensure that everything's on point, everything's the same, and it all matches and is as beautiful as all your other profiles. If you are sending connection requests via LinkedIn, then make sure that you personalise them, because people on LinkedIn get spammed by recruiters and people that they don't know, and it's not the done thing. It's not general etiquette for LinkedIn to just be adding randoms. So if you do know somebody, then make sure you personalise the connection request. If you don't know them but you want to get to know them, it's an idea to write the message within the connection request explaining why you would like to connect with them, and that you're not just
trying to get more people
exactly
on your figures.
So say hello. So if somebody does accept your invitation to join the network or vice versa, then send them a hello message, basically.
I always say thank you. Thanks for connecting. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've got to say, sharing your posts, and just talking with you.
And this will make people then be aware of who you are, what you do. They may well click back through to your profile to have a look, and then when your name comes up on their feed, they're more likely to look because they know, that's that person that said hello to me. Be responsive. Again, with the other social networks, the promptness of your response is just as important as the message itself. With LinkedIn messages, yes and no, respond to them in a day or so as you would with an email, but ideally just get on it and don't delay. Is my advice. With your profile picture on LinkedIn, don't have a photo of your dog as your profile picture. Make sure it's a professional headshot that you use.
I find it difficult when people don't have anything, because they know I don't have a picture, don't have a person to visualise. When it's blank, it's a bit difficult.
This is building your credibility as a professional. So that profile on LinkedIn, it's a CV essentially. It's an open CV. So it needs to really reflect everything. So everything from your, using a good picture to your profile being completely filled out properly.
I often find that I actually will point people to my LinkedIn page.
Yeah, definitely.
At the first instance, say, like, here, you can see who I am, what I'm talking about, my connections and so on, to give them that understanding of the type of person and business we are.
It's transparent then as well, isn't it? And they know you've not got anything to hide. So.
Yeah, exactly,
So, Next point is post content regularly. So with LinkedIn, again, it's about building credibility for yourself on a personal level and as the business. We've already sort of covered this a little bit, so I'll just whip through. Post content on the company page and share it via your personal profile. That's the main thing. If you are producing long form content, so blog posts or news articles on your website, or perhaps opinion pieces, you can post these. You can post sort of blog articles. It used to be called LinkedIn Pulse. It's just the article facility now, directly on LinkedIn itself. But if you are putting that sort of content on a website, then really utilise LinkedIn, because the people you've got on there are definitely going to want to read it if they're from within the same industry as you. Hashtags can be used on LinkedIn now too. There is a section within the company page where you can add hashtags, so make sure you do that and do use them in your posts as well.
Are they not frowned on? I've noticed that there's been some conversations on LinkedIn where...
The last couple of days, hasn't there been?
Yeah, it's not been very well received. People are starting to worry that LinkedIn is becoming less professional and more Facebook, and they don't like that. And I can understand what they're saying, because for me, LinkedIn is business. Facebook is more personal. Twitter is a little bit of a mixture.
If it makes it easier for that business to gain exposure or for people to research on certain industries by using hashtags, then I don't see that as a bad thing.
No, okay, that's fair enough. I mean, but I know it's a conversation, isn't it, at the moment?
People try and use LinkedIn like Facebook, and obviously that's the big no-no, is that, you know, people would post things that you would post on a Facebook profile on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I think one of them was someone at a beach, bikinis and stuff like that, and he was like, no, it's like, you know, at one point someone was saying that they were being harassed and that they felt they weren't being looked at as a professional, and on the other hand, they were also posting, you know, out on the beach and drinking and this, so there's a confusing message going on.
Keep it professional at all times. Introduce people. So think of yourself as a business matchmaker. Doing this will get you great brownie points with whoever you're matchmaking, and often people will return the favour to you. So again, if you're looking to expand your network, then this is a great opportunity to make new connections and nurture relationships. Monitor content. Again, there is analytics on the company page, so check this out for post impressions and for how your posts are performing.
Okay.
So I'm going to try and speed things up a bit because I'm conscious of time.
This is the trouble. There's so much to be said, isn't there? Maybe it's one of these things that we'll have to come back and revisit as well as, but hopefully we'll give everybody everything they need to at least get going.
So excuse me if I do start talking really quick. So the don'ts of using LinkedIn, be spammy. We've said about this already. So don't overpost. Don't be really beggy on your posts either. And you know, please come to me for business. Just keep it professional and don't overdo it. Don't call people out on viewing your profile. LinkedIn will tell you if somebody's been and had a snoop on your profile.
Oh, it's very good. The only thing I find annoying is when you can't actually see who it is. There's some people who don't have their profile
open. You can set it to private mode. However, don't call people out. If they've been on your profile, don't send them a message be like, oh, I've seen you looking on my profile. Just let them crack on. Yeah. And you know, obviously if they need you, I'm sure they'll drop you a message. Yeah. Don't put your profile on lockdown is the next thing. It needs to be public. That's the whole purpose of it. It's not like Facebook, so you shouldn't be sharing personal stuff anyway. So don't be too secretive with it. Don't create email lists from connections. You can export. There is a way to export your connection list and get their email addresses, but don't do this, especially now GDPR is a thing, because you may get in lots of trouble and you will annoy a lot of people by using their email address without authority.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not sure about that, then definitely visit the InventoryBase Academy. There's a free section on GDPR, do's, don'ts, guides and stuff like that. So that's definitely worth having a look-see, just to make sure you don't get yourself into that kind of situation.
And the last one is don't get aggy with people. It's not the place for it.
Okay.
Obviously, it's a personal profile that you're using, but it all links back through to your business and you're building connections, and you don't want to be getting your hair off with people on posts. And you know, there is going to be times where there's heated debates and you do feel like you want to put your point across, but just be careful and just think about how it comes across.
Yeah, because obviously agents and landlords want to know that you are both impartial, you're professional, and then if they see stuff that maybe is not giving over that kind of understanding to them, then they're less likely to want to connect with you and use your services. You want to say, look, no, I'm here, I do a professional service, it's quality service, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, cool. So next platform, quickly as we can, Instagram. So although this is probably the least relevant for our industry, you'd be missing a trick to leave it out. Instagram does require an image for every post, so again, it may not be possible for you to post as regularly, but it's a great way to keep your brand alive and to give customers a more sort of active feel about who you are and how you run your business.
But again, I suppose that also comes back to what we were saying earlier on about being careful what it is you're showing.
Exactly.
Especially if it's work related, with permissions and so on and so forth. You know,
that's it.
Like you said, always put yourself in the position of the landlord or the tenant or the reader, the arbitrator. Yeah. You know, because people do look at things
always
like this.
Always look at it from the other side. Definitely. So be aware on Instagram if you don't already know that most of its functionalities are only available using the mobile app. You can't do a lot at all on the desktop version. So it is mainly app-based on your phone. So I'll try and be as quick as possible. So branding again, there's not much to do on Instagram with regards to cover photos, stuff like that, just a small profile image, but again, make it to match, and it does appear in a circular frame, so bear that in mind. You need to convert your Instagram profile to a business profile and then link it to your Facebook account. So you can only do this by using the Instagram app, and you need to make sure that you're logged into the associated Facebook account on your phone while doing it, as it can give you problems.
Right.
Again, it has to be done by the mobile app. You get a bio option on your Instagram profile. So this is where you need to put the link that you want people to go to, because it's the only place on Instagram that you can use a link. You can't use links in posts, so make sure that you put that in there. You want your phone number, your email address, and just a bit about what you do. Make sure it's all done. Pictures tell the best story, so do tell stories. Use a combination of images to showcase what you do in the best light possible. And don't be afraid to post photos of staff doing what they do best. So if you're back at the office, for example, or if you're in a location where you can comfortably take an image that's not going to give away any information on the location or personal belongings in sight, then do it. Please be mindful about what pictures you're taking. It's a difficult one because obviously Instagram is photo based.
Yeah, but there is things you can do, like I said, getting permission, you know, especially around staff, you know, you've got to make sure that people are happy with that, they're content with that, you've got permission. I think it's the same as everything, it's always ask, would you be happy? Or if it was you, if someone was asking you, would you be happy with that? How would you perceive it? Always put yourself, like you said, in their shoes, make sure it's okay, because it said it will reflect on you and it could potentially give you problems going forward. And that's the last thing you want to do, especially when you're a fledgling business. You know, you want to showcase that you are a professional, and that's your key focus, certainly from my own point of view, and that's something I've always kind of like kept to. So, you know, I'm firmly on that proverbial fence, and that's the best place I think we should be.
Definitely. Hashtags again, this is a biggie on Instagram. Many people search using hashtags. You can follow hashtags, so that any post that's been put out with that hashtag will come up on your newsfeed. So have a go at searching yourself and see what competitors are using, and look at the amount of likes and things like that are happening across those posts. Again, monitor your results using the Instagram Insights via the app. The don'ts of Instagram: don't use it purely for promotion. As we've said, tell stories and do spice things up a bit, make it interesting for people. Don't follow and unfollow people to grow your community. This annoys people and it just comes across as rubbish, really. So avoid that if possible. The way to grow it is by posting regularly and by using the correct hashtags for the audience that you're trying to hit. Don't be just following and unfollowing. And you don't want to get banned for following too many people at once either.
Wow, okay. So don't tag people unnecessarily. It's a bit like, obviously, following and unfollowing, but you can tag people in the photos on Instagram, but if they're not in it, then don't tag them. Simple as that. It is a sad reality that unfortunately you can't add links to Instagram posts. So there's not a link in the post that they can directly click to get to your website. You'd need to go via the profile. So this is why it's so important to put the information in the bio section rather than in the actual post itself. Don't be too flaky with your posts. I know it's not possible to perhaps post all the time if you're a bit short on content, but don't leave it too long if possible. Keep it constant and keep it going. If you are posting on a more consistent basis, then the algorithms will prioritise your posts versus people that don't post as regular. So if you can, and if you've got the appropriate content, then do post it. This is why it's really, really important to plan your content in advance. So, for example, if you spent a month collating content and then posted that out the following month, obviously, if it wasn't time restrictive, then you've got a month's worth of content and you've got another month to work on the next month. So would you say out of all of the social media platforms, Instagram is probably the most heavy in regards to the amount of time and effort you need to put onto it?
It's just that you have to have an image, and obviously you don't want it to be boring. You want people to like the images that you're posting out. So, sort of creative wise, you have to have that content there readily available to post. It's definitely not the most important platform to use, but you need to have the...
Yeah, because everybody does it differently. I know certainly from my personal point of view, for me, LinkedIn and Twitter are my preferred for the image I'm trying to convey. But I know everybody is different, so you've got to. I would certainly suggest that have a real good think about what it is you want to show and the audience you want to target, as you mentioned earlier. I
would agree, definitely, for inventory clerks, letting agents, etc. Twitter and LinkedIn all the way, but it's still really important to have a really good presence on Facebook and Instagram, because you don't want people to miss the boat.
Okay.
So, sorry to really speed things up, but we'll just talk about setting the standard. So we'll go on to talking about strategy. So as I mentioned, there's no point in just posting anything willy-nilly. You need to have some thought behind it. So we'll talk a bit about those just really quickly. So lead your campaigns with objectives. So start with your top 3 marketing objectives. So what do you want to achieve? Evaluate how social media may help you achieve them, and how it's going to do that. So don't waste any time, and don't think of it as it's just a megaphone for your business. Think about how it can really help you reach your goals. Who are you going to connect with? How are you going to connect with them? What are you going to help them with? What resources are you going to give to them? All that sort of thing. It can feel really overwhelming when you first start, especially if it's not something that you're used to. But if you make a plan and identify what you want to achieve, then you should be onto a winner. So authority, by utilising platforms such as LinkedIn, you can build your authority within the industry space. Sian, not trying to give you too much of a big head, but you definitely, from obviously what I've witnessed, you are very well known now within the industry, but that is because you've used LinkedIn and Twitter to really sort of push your authority within the industry as being a provider and an advocate for inventory clerks. So
yeah, because I want to help. When I started out, there was no help, there's no support. It's very solitary kind of job, especially if you're a sole provider or a small company, etc. So you're kind of on your own. So I want to be able to try and help and support people in the industry, but grow the industry, standardise the industry, get the quality up, and then obviously with that comes the fee. So to me, that's really important. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
And I think that really ties in nicely with the next few points that we're going to make. So get chatting, which is obviously exactly what you've done, is to ask questions and respond to questions with answers or advice for people, and that your experiences and other people's experiences have really helped you. So definitely use that tactic to sort of grow your network and to, involve the people around you that you are interacting with. So show appreciation. Social media isn't a one-way street by any means. Be interactive, engage as much as possible, and people will definitely return the favour. So you need to stand out. We've talked about this already. So be as creative as possible. Really utilise all the tools available and be visual and loud at all times.
Within reason.
So you really need to try and boss one platform. That's a good bit of advice. Have a good following and a good level of content going out across every platform. But LinkedIn, for example, which for yourself I would definitely say that is the main one that you have really nailed.
I think it's comfortable for me because of what I'm trying to say and how I'm trying to do it. With me, Instagram, no, but Twitter, yes, Facebook, yes, LinkedIn more so. Brilliant.
Use and populate a social calendar. As I've just mentioned, plan your content in advance. If you don't do this, then you're going to fail. You have to do this. So do your research, be aware of any notable dates in the calendar that you can create posts around. If it's Pancake Day,
I love Pancake Day.
Anything like that. If there's any bank holidays coming up, if you need to remind people that they need to get booked in with you because there's a holiday or anything like that.
Yeah, Christmas, summer now at the moment. Yeah, we're getting ridiculously busy.
Don't get too samey with your posts. There is a stat that goes around that people need to see the same thing 3 times until they register it. However, don't do it too often because it does get too samey, and what you want is a good mix of sales, service, benefits, and again, interesting content. Make yourself stand out from everybody else. Be really visual, use your pictures, use videos, and again, if you haven't got your own content, share relevant industry content. So it doesn't need to be from a competitor, it can be from if it was something that Arla had put out, for example, and it was going to be really helpful and it's a video, share it. get it out there.
Well, there's a lot of really good information and content coming out from RICS, which is the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kind of like tie into what we do and what we understand and how it affects the letting industry and the estate industry. So that's all relevant. So, you know, it's not just like you said, just where you are now and your direct clients or competitors.
Yeah.
It's the broader picture.
The network, definitely. And again, off the back of that, keep it relevant. So even if it's a company that you're not related to, or it's not related to directly what you offer, you know, if it's still going to be useful to the people that are following your page, then definitely share it. If it's something totally unrelated, like a BBC News article about the man climbing up the Shard, then don't post that, because it's not helpful to anybody, and that's something that you should keep to your personal profile.
Yeah.
Tone of voice. So as with any speaking or portrayal of business, it is totally personal, but we should think about how we're coming across and what the tone of voice should be in your communications. So whether that be through your website, on your social media posts, or in video content, etc.
And that's something we've talked about between ourselves, haven't we? About, you know, how you want to be perceived, how you want to come across. And once you've got that tone of voice, you've set in that standard, then it's something it's easier to maintain. But you've got to know what it is. You've got to decide what you want to say, how you want to say it, how you want to be perceived, and how you would like people to respond. That all goes within that tone of voice.
Yeah,
is that right?
Definitely. So I'll just nip through the point. So words matter. They really do. There's no need to overcomplicate things by using big words or technical terms, unless it's really, really required. Obviously, sometimes there is only a technical term that will do. But if there's a normal word versus a big word, then just use the normal word. We all know what it is. You know, we're not solicitors. We don't need to use therewith and make it more complicated than it needs to be. Think about carefully what your audience wants from you. So write in a way that will make them feel at ease and have faith in what you're saying. Be open and transparent throughout your communications, and don't over fluff things when it isn't needed. Always ensure you spell things correctly and the correct grammar is used at all times. Obviously, we're all well aware of the grammar police on Facebook, etc. So don't do anything to annoy them and get their backs up.
It's amazing how quickly you focus on that one word that's spelt wrong. Drives me nuts.
Be positive throughout your speech and when talking, and always start with what matters the most. And as Sian's just mentioned about perception, you must read your messages as if you're the person on the other side. So is it offensive? Could it be deemed offensive? Could it come across as being racist or homophobic without you even meaning it to be? Just always look at it from a different perspective and be very, very careful, because the last thing that you want to do is upset anybody. And that's why it's mega important to draft your content in advance and proofread it. And if you're not sure, get somebody else to do it and ask them to be really honest.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I mean, certainly from my own personal point of view, I try and look at my posts as if they're with a nurturing background.
Yes.
So, you know, can I help? What can I do to make either that person understand what it is I'm trying to say, or help them or support them? And I think if you decide on what kind of stance you want, that will help you
definitely
as you go along.
Definitely. So we'll just now quickly, just to finish off, go through the getting started points that we've got down here.
Sorry, can I just interrupt quickly, just to let everyone know? I know we're now going over time, but do bear with us. As I said, there's a lot of content, and hopefully you'll find it really, really useful. If you do need to move away because you're busy, you've got other things to do, because I understand everyone's very time poor at the moment, especially in this busy period. This webinar is being recorded. We will send it out. We will come back to your questions and queries, etc., and send them all out to you afterwards. So if you do need to navigate away, you know, don't worry, you won't miss out. We'll make sure that gets over to you. Cool. Sorry for that.
No, that's fine. We are very near the end though, so if you do want to hang on, we shouldn't be more than a few more minutes. So get all your social channels set up first and foremost. It is relatively simple, however, it will guide you through the process as you go on to sign up. But obviously, if you are stuck, then by all means give us a shout, or you know, the information on how to get them set up will be online. Draft your content as I've just spoken about, and make sure you create a content plan. Don't just be posting out and thinking, oh, that'll do. You need to draft it and do a plan. You will need a stock image description, and this does also include editing software on some providers packages that they offer. So Shutterstock, for example, they do different stock image packages, and that will give you access to professional imagery. You can buy them in like set packs, so you could buy 10 images, for example, or you can have a monthly subscription, but it does give you the option to resize them all. So when you are posting out on social media, you can resize them to the relevant platform. And also, a really important thing to let people know, if they don't know already, is that you can, and there is lots of different variants out there of social media management software. It's not necessarily that expensive. Some providers will actually offer it you for free if you're only using it for, say, 3 different networks. So you may have heard of Hootsuite before, or Buffer, and this enables you to schedule all of your posts. So you don't need to physically sit there every day and manually post out across social media.
That's useful to know.
Obviously, there is some things like news and things like that which are going to be as and when it is happening, or it gets posted by somebody else, and that's why it's important to monitor your channels every day. But by doing your content in advance and planning it in advance for a month's time, for example, then you can actually schedule it all by day and time, and it will all go out nicely, and you won't need to worry on a daily basis.
That's useful to know.
So yeah, that's about it for me, content-wise. But obviously, if there is anything else that you want to know, then please do get in touch. I hope I've not waffled on too much, and
not at all.
You've found it interesting and useful.
Very much so. And certainly from my own point of view, I thought I knew a lot about social media, but I've also learnt some really new and very interesting and helpful pointers today. So Thank you, Laura, for joining us.
No worries at all. Thank you
very
much.
Good. And thank you to all the attendees for joining us on our webinar. I hope you found it informative. Like I said, if you do have any questions, because obviously I appreciate we haven't been able to get through any of them because we've got so much content to get through, please do add them to the end of your chat box. We'll make sure we come back to you. We'll send them out with a copy of the recording, and also Laura's contact details, which you can see on the thank you note there. So if you want to know more about social media, how to manage your social media accounts, or if you need help and advice, etc., then Laura will be available either via the email or when we send out all the details later on. So thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, Laura. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
We look forward to greeting and welcoming you all again in the next webinar with InventoryBase Academy. Thank you.